Hello, I just wanted to do a short video about the nature of the demons from my point of view. And this is simply from my point of view, based upon my experience and my impressions. But I really wanted to do this video because I think there's an enormous disconnect between generalized impressions or ideas about how the demons are and what their nature is, and the actual nature of the demons. And I don't think that disconnect really helps people or is healthy, in fact. This is based upon communications I had in February, and it certainly had it was kind of like one of those moments when something really clicked. I'd noticed for a while that with certain experiences with demons, one of the characteristics was a great sense of calm and a great sense of reasonableness, I think you could call it. A complete draining of any sense of superstition, any sense of fear, and also any sense of extraneous mental activity. And it was a very clear, placid, lucid quality, which I found. Now, as I understand it, what the demons I was in communication with communicated to me is that a lot of the things that we think of as associated with the demons are, in fact, more about us than they are about them. And for instance, they said that we tend to think that their world is dark, and in fact, it really isn't dark at all. They also said that many of the things that some people associate with the demonic and with demonic people, you could say, people who are very much connected to demons, such as fiery passions, anger, and all sorts of craziness. That's not them, that's us. And the reason for that seems to be, I tentatively say from my experiences and from what they were able to communicate to me, is because their energy tends to catalyze and bring out whatever our issues are. And I think it's just a way of resolving those issues in a way. But obviously we need a lot of work, a lot of discipline, and a lot of mindfulness in order to be able to cope with these things, because these things aren't about them, they're about us. That's not what they're trying to bring about in us. I think it's quite the opposite, in fact, because if you work with the demons, and if you feel this sort of call to work with the demons sincerely and in a more devotional sense, a more respectful sense, then what they want for us is for us to become somewhat more like them. Though, of course, I don't think we can become them. We are human beings, and that's what we are. I don't think our essential natures really change. But they want us to become more like them. And the demons aren't dominated by emotionalism. Neither are they dominated by thought structures that take up things and dominate them either. Communication is very different for them. Their communication seems to be more along the lines of feeling and image, as far as I could tell, in terms of how that stuff all works, and in their world how it works. Their actual emotions seem very grounded. indeed. And so they don't have that quality of volatility to them, which we do. We're a very, very volatile species and a quite unstable species, and they are not, which isn't surprising really, because they are very, very old. They far outdate us, and they're older, they are more intelligent, they are wiser. But maybe to us, in some senses, they seem more reminiscent of the animal, because we are cut off from our own animal nature. But what they are really, I think, is integrated, though of course you can't really talk about a demon's animal nature, because they have an entirely different genesis, I believe. Their sense of inspiration, in the sense that we have inspirations which tend to take hold of us and possess us, they don't seem to be like that. It's like they resolved all of that aeons ago. And so their inspiration seems to be much more serene, in a sense. It seems to be much more mindful, much more, I don't want to say premeditated, but there is a sense that their inspiration is the fulfillment of something. They are fulfilling things through their inspiration. And then it also communicates something about Satan, the God that we call Satan, or have called Satan, and called many other things, I believe, as well. In that we have this sense of Satan being the boss, basically, and of Satan having a kingdom. And what they communicated was that it's not a kingdom in the sense that we think of a kingdom, and Satan isn't their ruler in the sense that we think of a ruler. It doesn't work that way. They've worked out so many things that we're not even at the beginning of. That's not how it is for them. They all have freedom. They all have freedom, and they all work in what would seem to be a harmonious way, but it's not a harmony of dominating command. That's not the sense of it. They all have freedom, and of course they are all sacred beings in their own rights. And they all have their place. So they have that to them as well. Whereas, of course, what we do is we tend to overlay our own sense of mammalian hierarchy and dominance hierarchies and social hierarchies and networks like this. Their hierarchies don't work in that way because they are natural, and they are also spiritual. So those were just a few things. I think it explains why there is that sense of calmness and peace with them. But their energy is such that when they work with us, it takes time for us to get used to these things, and it can only be integrated in time and with a certain kind of spiritual work to do this. And they also communicated that it's not just us that they've interacted with. They've worked with all sorts of levels of nature, I believe, and achieved different degrees of melding with different sorts of kingdoms of nature, such as the plant kingdom and things like that, etc. There weren't details about that, but for instance, the idea that the demons are only concerned with us is, I think, erroneous. And the idea that Satan or the devil or the horn god is only concerned with us, of course, is erroneous as well. Which I think is important. It puts things in perspective. And it shows that the natural and the demonic are not like two worlds with a rift between them. They are interwoven and intermingled. And I think that's important as well. I've probably forgotten some other things there, but I'm just doing this off the top of my head rather than doing it from notes. But those are the main things I think I wanted to communicate. The demons aren't as people have thought of them. They aren't as they've been depicted in so many forms of Satanism, let alone Christianity or these other religious forms. They're natural, they're specific, they're ancient. They have experience that we can't really even imagine, and they understand the nature of reality and the world much better than we do. We are almost like two-dimensional animated designs on a flat sheet of paper, and they are like three-dimensional beings. So of course, when you have something from another dimension interacting with your world, it could be confusing, and also, but the thing is, it has a perspective which is far superior to us from within that flat plane, if you see what I mean. And that's another thing that I think is so with the demons and with the gods. I mean, it's an interesting thing. And of course there is also, I mean, it just occurs to me, there is also the question of the ancestors and our own people who have passed over into the other world. And I do believe there is just simply one world. I don't really see the need to make it very complicated. But we see things from within one dimension, whereas in fact reality is much broader than that. So in a way, our ancestors are potentially nearer to them than we are, if you see what I mean, because they are also in that timeless, or if you like, fourth dimensional perspective, at least to whatever extent. I don't really know the details and the nature of all these things, of course, but it's another interesting point that, in a sense, the idea of ancestors and human spirits that we are connected to also, in some sense, probably comes into this as well. Anyway, that's just conjecture. Anyway, I hope you're having a nice season, doing well, keeping healthy and happy, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.